Coming up today, we got a big deal, a $4 billion deal with OpenAI and CoreWeave. AMD has a $6 billion buyback plan. Trump tells Apple not to expand to India. Alibaba missing their quarterly revenue estimates, and more with the stock market. I just want to say I made a guide for everything that I learned to become profitable with the stock market, long term, short term, day trades, everything that you really need to know. And I put it all in this course. And basically, why I called it the long term, because I gave you guys 40 free stocks to trade and told you guys why you guys should use them. Without further ado, let's get started with some AMD. Honestly, with that buyback, we haven't really seen any bullish momentum. Honestly, just selling pressure. And honestly, man, on VWAP with AMD, I think VWAP is looking a little bit bearish for the short term. But if we can break above 116.2, we might be able to look a little bit more bullish and maybe even beat the highs for today. With that being said, look at 116.2, 117, 118, and then 118.5. And after that, look at 120 to the downside, look at 115, 114.5, 113.5, and that 110 level for AMD. But another one that I really want to talk about is CoreWeave. So we did have the earnings. So they beat estimates by a lot. And honestly, that's a lot of revenue and honestly way above expectations. With that being said, it did have a big sell-off, as we can see, during earnings, and then also had a sell-off at market open. But you could have made a pretty decent amount of money, especially how much the plays went up today. They went up insane. So you could have made a decent amount of money off of this today, especially if you got in at these lows. But look at CoreWeave to the upside. But honestly, some levels to watch first is watch that $74 level, 75, and then all the way up to that $80 level. And if we can break above even more, maybe that $90 level. But right now, it's kind of, I want to call it a meme stock, or just like a very, very popular stock right now. So you're going to see a lot of volume and momentum in this. But you can make a decent amount of money off option plays and stuff like that, and even play to the downside, because maybe sooner or later it can go back down. So keep that in mind for CoreWeave. With that being said, this was a little bit ago, but basically Trump tariffs lives updates. Trump claims India offered zero tariffs. Honestly, to make Trump happy, he honestly wants Apple to stay in the US and manufacture in the US. But honestly, right now, most of their things are indeed in China, just because it's way cheaper and stuff like that to produce. And then with the tariffs and stuff like that came out, moving to India would have been the cheaper option. And honestly, man, India is the next China basically with cheap labor. Also, I think other countries like Vietnam and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. But Alibaba missed quarterly earnings, and honestly, you see Baba down 8%. We're going to be looking at a little bit later on the charts, maybe making some plays. And then Dick's Sporting Goods to buy Foot Locker for $2.4 billion, which is insane. And you see these stocks increasing a lot, especially Foot Locker is up 84% for the day, which is insane. This move is honestly parabolic and honestly just great news, especially if you had it in your short term, something like that. This is at least almost doubling your money. So Walmart did say that it is set to unleash double-digit price increase. So back to CoreWeave. So they signed a new $4 billion deal with OpenAI. So keep that in mind, because this can make CoreWeave go up even more. But it's basically a partner of Nvidia. And honestly, they just kind of started recently, and the earnings did pretty well. So AMD, we had AMD unreveal a $6 billion buyback plan. It's just a plan, but honestly, this can make stocks go up. But right now, with the looks of AMD, like we seen before, it didn't really look like it did too much. With that being said, honestly, man, we're not looking too bad with the stock market today, and or even for the week, we're looking pretty good. With that being said, we are kind of neutral right now, and we kind of seen what we seen yesterday with the overall market. Except for today, we have bigger moves today. But honestly, for other stocks like Nvidia, Palantir, Tesla, we did have a big sell off, but then it kind of came back. But SPY was kind of just holding, moving up and down, low volume. But then we finally got a big buy, better volume basically. And just honestly, everything is looking very, very great for the overall market. With that being said, look at SPY to the upside. So look at that 590. If we can finally break above that 590, we can look even more bullish. But honestly, just watch that 590. And then past that, look at 591.5. And then all the way up to that 595 to that 600 level next. But keep in mind that we can also sell off as much as we came up. So be very, very careful. Don't chase it. Just honestly, man, ride it out to say. But with that being said, to the downside, look at 588.5, 587, and then all the way down to that 585.5, and then all the way down to 583.5. So be very, very careful if you guys are trading SPY. We bounced up and down yesterday, but we're finally making a breakout. We beat the highs from, honestly, we broke past a new high within the last month or so. So keep that in mind too for the SPY. Apple is next. We did have that sell off, like I said, and then just another buyback. So you could have made a decent amount of money, 210 all the way up to 213, almost a $3 move. With that being said, to the upside, look at 213.5, 215, and then all the way up to that 220. To the downside, look at 212, 211.5, 210.5, and then all the way down to 210 to 209.5. With that being said, if you do, if you are trading stocks like Apple, Nvidia, Palantir, Tesla, just see how the overall SPY is moving. Because honestly, if we keep one rallying up and we break past that 590, we might be able to see a bigger rally in other stocks like Nvidia, Apple, stuff like that. We do still have the decent news with Nvidia. Nothing really major coming out, just more chip controls and stuff like that. With that being said, to the upside, look at 135, 135.6, sorry, 136.2, and then 137.3, and all the way up to that 140 level. To the downside, look at 133, 132.5, and then all the way down to the 132 level. So be very, very careful trading Nvidia. I do really want to see if we can get up to the highs from pre-market or after hours. And then hopefully we can break above this and maybe make some new highs tomorrow. But just be patient. Again, with Palantir, Palantir has had low volume, hasn't really been trading too well. I'm trying to scope out a call option. Honestly, all the way down to this 125 level might be a decent level to watch for the next upcoming days. With that being said, to the upside, look at 130, 131.5, and then breaking some highs of 133.5 and then 135. To the downside, look at 127.8, 127, 126.5, and then all the way down to that 125 level. But if you really want to play some plays, I think Palantir is going to be okay. It's been moving decently. With that being said, do look at that 125 to that 126 for a call option. And then if we start rallying up without really breaking too much, look at that 133 to that 132 for a put option. But honestly, I think if we break these levels, we might be breaking up even more. So just have your patience. But look at 130 to that 127 level for today. It can probably maybe make a little bounce. So it might bounce off that 130 later on and maybe go down. But honestly, just have your patience, see how it moves. And honestly, just take your time with it. Next, we're going to talk about is Tesla. So Tesla is moving honestly okay, not really too much volume today. So I think Tesla's moving probably the least amount out of the three key stocks, basically. But with that being said, to the upside, look at 344, 346, and then all the way up to that 350 level. If you can break above 350 finally, look at 355 and 360. To the downside, look at 338.8, 336, and then 335. Below that, look at 332 and that 330 level for Tesla. Bitcoin, honestly, man, has been kind of rallying back up. We had a big, honestly, man, if we look at this, this is a big, there's a bunch of 5-minute candles, but if you go in like the 30-minute time zone, it will look even better. But honestly, man, we are kind of rallying up a decent amount right now. Honestly, broke past some levels, some key levels, and making a higher high now. With that being said, be very, very patient, of course, but you can look at MSTR and Coinbase for some decent trades. With that being said, these option plays are pretty expensive. So, I mean, depending on where Bitcoin moves, if we keep rallying up, you buy some calls. And then if we start selling off with Bitcoin once again, buy some puts. With that being said, Coinbase is like over 2,000 now for in the money plays. They went up almost 500 now. And then for MSTR, they're like 3,000, almost 4,000 honestly for that. But if you look at a ticker called IBIT, it's basically an ETF that moves exactly with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's going up, this is going to go up, Bitcoin goes down, this is going to go down. It's just ETF, mini ETF, basically just buying Bitcoin for cheaper. But you can buy calls and puts and they're literally $300. So if you guys don't want to risk too much money, but still be in the money, you guys can look at IBIT. And honestly, it moves exactly with Bitcoin. So just have your patience basically. But if you would have bought it all the way down to this 57.6 level, you'd have been up almost $1. And that's a decent amount of money on this. But with that being said, thanks for watching the video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Feel free to comment anything, any questions or anything that you guys have, and peace out.